الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Saadi Nothing But Facts live stream, where every day, every stream we do is, mashallah, getting better and having as much impact, more impact as than the one before it. And yesterday was definitely one of those days. Unfortunately, you saw we had a power crash because I guess it was the new stove, right? I guess it was the new stove that we got downstairs in the soup kitchen. Plus, we went so late, so they started cooking for the soup kitchen. The dinners are on Wednesday. And this soup kitchen, mashallah, everyone is helping us pitch in to finally close off on this building. It's just going to, inching there, close off on the building, then everything about it is rent. Right? So, alhamdulillah, mashallah, it's going well. I am with a guest today, Sheikh Asadullah Kirli. He's been here before, and you saw him before. Today we're going to have a one-camera setup, but you'll hear his voice as we speak. And today we're covering the subject of Mujahada, which is struggle. And struggle can only exist to the degree that you have knowledge. And struggle, who do we have here? What is this, Vivek or what? Come in. Come on in. Who? Ahmed? Ahlan wa sahlan. From far away, I thought that was Vivek Ramaswamy. Come on in, take a seat. How are you, man? Are you a guest coming through or what?
No. So he takes Arabic classes from somebody online.
And you take?
And I happen to take the same Arabic class.
Allahu Akbar, mashallah. Mashallah.
To know about you through, he mentioned it to the Sheikh online, and he mentioned it to me, and ever since I've been following you.
Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure to see you here, mashallah. And so you're from Jersey?
I was originally from New York, but I moved to Houston.
Houston?
Yeah.
He's from Houston. Well, he just was in Houston, visited Houston. So you live in Houston?
Yes, now I'm in Houston, yes.
Which masjid there?
Masjid Sugarland.
Oh, yeah. There's Sheikh Muhammad there.
Yes.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. Muhammad al-Faruqi.
Muhammad al-Faruqi.
Yeah, mashallah. He's a great young man.
Young guy, yes.
He's a great young man. And
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
Oh, mashallah.
way back in the day, I went to Sugarland, Texas, and I taught Arabic in that masjid for 2 weeks.
Is that right?
And it was just like everything in Texas is bigger, right? People in, it's funny, people in England, they come to Jersey, New York, East Coast, anywhere like East Coast, and they're like, wow, houses are so huge. Wait till you go to Texas, man.
No kidding.
I mean, and everything is buildable. You might buy 5 acres here, and they'll tell you 2.5 is buildable. The other 2.5 are swamp, right? It's too wet. There's too much water under the ground, so you can't build.
Right.
Like, you could put maybe play soccer there or something, and walk with feet, but you can't put cars there, can't put a building there. And everyone here knows that we are streaming from the great state of New Jersey, and we have, as some people saying, H-Town in the house. That's what they call it.
Okay.
The H-Town, Houston. Yeah. So we were saying that, and we're going to pick up on the proofs of revelation next Monday, or next Tuesday, inshallah. But we were talking about mujahada, struggle. You cannot struggle if you don't know what to do. And on top of that, if you don't know what to do, you may end up struggling for the wrong cause.
Right.
And I'm not talking political or cause only. It could be a wrong political cause. It could be a wrong theological cause. But it also could simply be a spiritual effort that is useless.
Yeah. Putting your resources into something that doesn't give you.
Exactly. Putting your physical resources and your thank you, Omar. Your physical effort into something that is completely useless. The Catholics have this extreme cult that wears braces around themselves. The braces have pricks in them. So by the end of the day, they tie this brace, and all day they're in a severe discomfort. And at the end of the day, they come out, when they take it off, the prick has gone into their skin, so they have like lines of pricks, and they're supposed to feel the pain of Jesus in that. So when Islam comes around to these places, they're coming to free you from these things that you imagine was good for you, but is really bad for you.
Yeah.
Monasticism, to not marry, that's really bad for you. They obligated upon themselves. As Surah Al-Hadid says in the last page. Ibtada'uha, they obligated on themselves, but they couldn't keep it up, right? They could not keep it up because it's bad for you. You're trying to do something to get close to God,
Yeah.
but it's bad for you. Mr. Houston.
Because everything's on a
This is for
mizan,
you.
right?
Everything's on a mizan. Bismillah. Hey,
As soon as you get it unbalanced, then
should we heat this up for our guest?
Alhamdulillah, I know I already ate. I just ate.
But you just got off the flight.
That's why I'm late.
You just got off a flight?
No.
Okay.
No. I was supposed to come see you guys yesterday.
MashaAllah. Ahlan wa sahlan.
I just got delayed.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Brother here is saying Joe Rogan and JD Vance had a very Islamophobic conversation and few have commented on it. Of course, JD Vance, of course, he must be. Oh, JD Vance again? I thought they talked well before. Listen, the whole new cabinet, it's basically a collection of Crusaders, Templars, Zionists, Hindutvas. That's what the new cabinet is all about. And it just so happens that they're all anti-woke, right? They're like against multi-gender. They're more on the common sense side of things. So we don't have really any good choices. The only people who are somewhat tolerant to the Muslim identity, I can't say they're tolerant to the Muslim aqidah. They're not tolerant to Muslim aqidah or law. The left may be tolerant to a Muslim identity, tolerant to different skin colors, but they're also tolerant to every other Iblisi-looking, demon-looking type of person who has crazy ideas about life and reality. Like they're way off.
Without any absolutes.
They have no absolutes, so they're off on reality itself. The right, they're grounded in the same basic things that human beings have been grounded in. Like there's a truth, there's guys and girls, there's men and women. Those, but their theology and politics is dead against ours. So you're picking your poison here. There's nothing you could do about it. من بين فرث ودم لبنا خالصة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says between filth and blood in the cow, between where the filth is, defecation comes out, and where the blood is, must be some other organ, is pure milk comes out. Okay, I guess where is the blood cleaned out? I don't know. In the cow. But min bayni farthin wa damin, which is Allah is showing us that subhanAllah, this is not an accident. If it's an accident, this chances of this happening will be very few. They'll probably mix, right? Min bayni farthin wa damin. Then the udder of the milk is produced there. Right? So maybe, I don't know, do we want to get into the anatomy of a cow? I mean, it's sort of tafsir, right? Well, let's see what Omar pulls up. The anatomy of a cow, where there's blood, where there's milk, and then there's filth. So Omar will look that up for us. When you have something, let us know. In the meantime, we're going to continue. Okay. All right, share that when you're ready. When you have something for us. These are, yeah, maybe. All right, bring it. We'll see. Go to the interior organs. They're saying here, struggling, you may struggle for the wrong cause. And a person may struggle his entire life for the wrong cause and waste his entire life, as Surah Al-Kahf says. He thinks he's doing good his whole life. Turns out he was wrong. Now, why is this such a shock to people when sometimes people say, my gosh, he really tried hard, right? As if to sympathize with the struggle element, irrespective to the accuracy element. Well, human beings, when they're trying to do stuff, let's say, figure out astronomy, for centuries, everyone got it wrong, right? So the idea that a person for his whole own life gets it wrong, his whole life, that's completely plausible. It's completely feasible.
Yeah.
Omar, all right, that was a good picture, Omar. Let's go with that one.
It's not readable.
You can't read it?
It's like AI.
So it's very plausible that not only is your cause wrong, but also your efforts, your spiritual efforts. Mujahada, it's struggle that is not just for the purpose of spiritual struggle. There's also mujahada in spreading the truth. And this is where the study of aqidah is so important. You cannot just take on your aqidah as simply as a matter of inheritance. And Allah mocks such a people. And He says, they said our father, they said our, inna wajadna aba'ana ala ummatin wa inna ala atharihim muqtadun. We found our fathers part of this nation, so we follow them too. It's not how things are done. He says here, رسالة الخشيرية والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا. If you strive in our path, we will guide you, or if you strive for us, we will guide you to our paths. This has many, many different meanings. One of the first meanings is that if you strive in the truth early on in your life, or early on in your path, then Allah will show you all the paths of good deeds. Okay? So this ayah, when it's directed to the beginner, to the newbie, you strive in what you know. A person may not know many things. He may know like 5 things are haram and 5 things are fard. But he strives and he puts in effort to do these things. Then Allah Ta'ala will guide you to the different paths of truth. Are there different paths of truths? Or is there one path of truth? Well, I ask you then, does a tree have one trunk or many trunks? One trunk. But does it have one branch? Like you don't see a tree go straight up and then have nothing at the top or just a couple leaves at the top. No, every single tree goes straight up and then it branches off. And they branch off in different beautiful ways. It's almost like the ways that they branch off is that the palm tree is different from the oak tree, different from the pine tree. So palm trees, it's straight up and then really hairy at the top, like someone with like a big hair at the top. Pine trees, evergreens are so pretty, and evergreens make the air so crisp and fresh. Evergreens come up in the snow, and the branches come out from the bottom right away.
It's called the udder.
And it's
happening.
the trunk goes all the way up and it's never naked. There's not a single part of the evergreen and the pine tree that's naked, where the trunk is bare. I should say bare is better. So every tree is going to be different. Then you have climbing trees also. They branch out but the same concept. You have one trunk, and that is what we call the qat'i, explicit texts of our religion that have one possible meaning only. When there are words, there are verses in the Quran that are al-Kitab. They have one possible meaning only. Anyone who goes against that, it's going to be 2 options. Either you went against a qat'i verse that's mutawatir, you're out of Islam. Or against a qat'i verse that's ahad, you're out of Ahl Sunnah. Meaning your deeds don't count. Out of Ahl Sunnah, you're not out of a club. It's not like we excommunicate you from a club. No, between you and Allah, your good deeds don't count. And between us and you, we're not going to pray behind you anymore. Haram to pray behind you. But valid. If your wudu is, assuming their wudu and salah is valid, then our salah behind him is sinful but valid. Now, if he's goes against mutawatir, qat'i mutawatir, not even a Muslim anymore. He's a zindiq. His ibadah is invalid. For us to pray behind him is invalid and haram. Marriage dissolved. Death, go bury yourself somewhere else. Mecca, no passport for you, no visa. So that's the zindiq. And then the bid'i. So that's why we say there are paths in Islam once you pass the qat'i verses. Then you get to dhanni verses. Dhanni means the verse can have multiple meanings, right? Then you have paths at that point. So you have different options in different things. So in the spiritual world, or in the spiritual path, there are many different good deeds a person can do. So the aqidah and the fard, the obligatory deeds, are all one and the same. No difference on them. But then you get to nafl. So in our analogy of a tree, in the spiritual path, the spiritual path has the obligations. Everyone must do them. Nobody can leave the obligations and avoid the prohibitions. But then you have extra deeds. You're good at fasting. You're good at talking. You're good at doing dhikr. You're good at studying knowledge. You're good at giving charity. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا, those who fulfilled, they've struggled in the obligations. Now we'll give you a gift. Now there's different types of acts of worship that you can specialize in. And that will differentiate you from everybody else. We all do the obligations. So once a person has put the effort in the obligations, then now Allah opens the door to them. And you see, oh, there's soup kitchen here. I love that work. There's dawah there. I love that. Virtual work online. I love that. Sitting with shuyukh and knowledge and traveling to them and studying at their feet with notebooks and texts. I love that. Dealing with youth. Dealing with media. Like making videos or what have you. There's so much to do. And that's why recently when somebody asked a lawfulness of living in the United States, I said you can make it lawful by being involved in the dawah in any way, shape, and form. In any way, shape, and form. That doesn't mean you have to be the one giving the dawah.
Sure.
You may be the one funding the dawah. You may be the one. And dawah, what is dawah? Dawah is a lot of things going on. It's not just tabligh. Tabligh is to tell a non-Muslim. This is one of the best deeds you can ever do. Prophet ﷺ said, if the whole world was given to you versus you give shahada to one person, giving shahada is greater. It's a reward, right? So there's so many different deeds that a person and basically essentially it boils down to be involved in the community, in the jama'ah of Muslims in some way, shape, and form that's positive. So for the beginner, those are the subul. My path to Allah is going to be through dawah. My path to Allah is going to be through charity. My path to Allah is going to be through teaching little kids Arabic in an Islamic school. You know these women, when I see them teaching kids Arabic or teaching kids Quran, teaching hadith, from 9 to 5, they're getting good deeds. Like, subhanAllah, like how do you end up not in paradise? You ask yourself the question.
Sure.
Every year, they are the first teacher to teach this kid Alif Ba or Qul Huwallahu Ahad or Uridu an adhab ila al-hammam, things like that. The first person to teach them Arabic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, how to say Assalamu alaikum, how to say Subhanallah 33, dua before eating. That's the first person. Teach them. Your parents are too busy. So they gave tawqeed to you to do it. So that person is getting good deeds from morning to evening. And I tend to find that it's always best to teach the kids. Like if you want an investment, go down in age and earlier in Islam. It's always a greater investment. So when you have a huge scholar and all of his students are other scholars, let's ask a question. If he was removed, the harm in the community would hardly be noticeable because he's already teaching scholars. You're already a scholar. Now he's taking you from 90% knowledge to 98% knowledge, or from an 80 to a 90. But if you took out the intro stuff, what happens to the community at that point? That sheikh would not even have students to teach, right? So the more advanced, the more honored you are, the more important you are, the greater knowledge you are. No doubt about that. There's no doubt that such a scholar is like the sun in comparison to the stars, or the moon in comparison to the stars. There's no doubt about that. But the actual impact that you're having is actually less. There's less of an impact on that person. That person already, he's a scholar. The path to paradise, he knows it already, right? But now go down to when kids are wayward teenagers and they get a good example in their life. Like that is so early on. That person could have gone left, right, but he's now going straight. For the next 60 years, he's going to benefit from that teacher, right? From that 1 year that he spent with that teacher, set him on the right track, benefits him for 60 years. So yes, he's smaller. The smaller in comparison to the greatness of a great scholar. Again, we're not disputing that, but we're disputing the actual impact, right? And we're not saying we can afford to lose one or the other, but the actual impact, when you go down lower in age, your impact is probably, I would say, starting at high school. The impact is so powerful there, and probably more powerful if you're in the life of a high schooler for 2 years versus in the life of a 40-year-old. Which one is a bigger impact? 40-year-olds are mostly already made up his mind.
Right.
Maybe you just remind him, shake off some dust, and that's it, some rust, and that's it. But the high school, you're literally setting them on the track. Every one of us, no matter what happened, we have a special attachment to our first teacher.
And another way to look at it too
Got
is you could
it.
say that, you know, somebody who's younger, their heart isn't full yet.
Yeah.
So it still has that emptiness, and they're going to find something. So if you're the one who can fill it, then that heart is going to be filled for the rest of its life.
Yeah. Is that teenager has what, 60 years to go on average, let's say?
And they say most people who leave their religion,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's over all religions,
Mm-hmm.
they do it after high school,
Yeah.
between high school and college,
Yeah.
or in the beginning of their college years.
Once the shahawats, once the desires
That's it.
overtake, they eclipse the light in the heart. I don't know. So here's another example. Hamza Hussein says, if you take out PhDs, no one notices, but take out school teachers, what do you have? What do you have? So let's now go in a person's religious path. Let's say someone enters Islam at the age of 35. That first teacher he has, it's still the same. By analogy, it's the same thing, right? That first teacher is so important. When he's 55, khalas, he's cooked, right? He's marinated and he's cooked enough. You're just maybe gonna fix a few things, but that first teacher that he has, that first influence, may be extremely detrimental, right? It could be extremely beneficial, depending. That's why that first teacher is so important, and it kills me to see sometimes some brothers get in touch with some influential person who entered Islam, but they literally drive him mad. They just drive him into a desert. They literally drive him into a place with no nourishment. Their religion there is no juice to it. It's just stricture and no spirituality to it. No common sense sometimes even. So that person then suffers from 35 to 40. Who knows if they keep their Islam or not? And you see that happening all the time. Now what is the khitab of this verse to somebody who has advanced and someone who is years and decades in the path of Allah? Then this verse means وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا, those who strived in our cause. Khalas, now Allah selected you as to have a big role to play in your family or community, in your world. لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, it's now the paths of paradise. That this person now can enter from any of the doors of paradise he wishes. Let's take a look at, so depending on where a person is in the spiritual journey and the path with Allah, this ayah will hit differently for them. أخبرنا علي بن أحمد الأهوازي قال أخبرنا أحمد بن عبيد الصفار قال حدثنا على عباس ابن الفضل. He says, from Ali ibn Zayd, from Abi Nadr, from Abu Sa'id, from Abi Sa'id al-Khudri, سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أفضل الجهاد. The Prophet was asked on the greatest jihad. The greatest jihad. قال كلمة عدل عند سلطان جائر ودمعت عينا أبي سعيد. There's a typo here. There's two harakat on the meme. دمعت عينا أبي Sa'id. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in this hadith narrated by Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah, what is the greatest jihad? He said, to say the truth in front of an oppressive ruler. That is the greatest jihad. To say the truth in front of an oppressive ruler. وسمعت الأستاذ, who is the Sheikh of Sahib al-Risala, Imam Abdul Karim al-Qushayri, Abu Ali al-Daqqaq. Abu Ali al-Daqqaq is the name you'll see all over the book. Okay. I heard our teacher, Abu Ali al-Daqqaq, say, من زين ظاهره بالمجاهدة حسن الله سرائره بالمشاهدة. All right. So if you this is essentially what the spiritual path entails. You put the effort forth, you put the struggle forth, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets your inner eye see the truth. See the truth of what? It's the truth of whatever it is that you're looking for. Some people, the truth to them is, was my dua accepted? Some people, the truth for them is, what is the sound aqidah? Some people, the truth for them is, where do I go study? Or what should I do with myself now? So the truth in that regard is slightly different for each person based on where they're at. I shouldn't say the truth is different. No, the truth that they're seeking is a different truth. One may be a totally personal truth. Most of us in the beginning of our path, we don't know which path is right, like which group within Ahl Sunnah is right. And then there's like a gray area. Are these people even of Ahl Sunnah? Are they innovators? We don't know that, right? So that's the truth that we need. Later on in life, you don't ask those questions anymore. Now you need other truths specific to yourself. What should I do with myself? Should I go here or there? Just like what you're happening right now.
That's true.
So whoever struggle on the outside, you don't struggle after spirituality and spiritual opening has come to you. No, you struggle beforehand because you believe with your mind, this is what Allah wants me to do. This is what Allah wants me to do. This is what Allah loves. This is what I'm going to do. Now I do it, and Allah Ta'ala opens a door for me. And for us, Mujahada begins, spiritual struggle begins with something small. But you hack away at it daily. For some people, I'm telling you, don't underestimate anyone in, like sometimes we in Masajid and we live the masjid life and we're in the masjid dealing with human beings more than we are online, right? Some people are only online. They dominate the internet. But then they go home and there's nothing, and there's no masjid, there's no nothing. Allah has blessed us with the ability to have a masjid, which we be thankful for. That lets us do what we want to do in it. We have to be extremely grateful for that, because you actually get much more mentally and spiritually and emotionally healthy in a masjid with people than this virtual stuff. This virtual stuff, I love it only because it's balanced out. That's why I can take any amount of incoming, mostly. I don't want to say any. When we get not trolls, haters, and incoming and hate, it's actually really easy to handle it if you have physical people to go to who don't even know what's going on, right? That's the beauty of it. Local masjid, no one has a clue, even that you're online. That's the beauty of it. You see these guys, and you enter into their world now. You see these older guys, you enter into their world. He has no clue even what your Twitter handle is, right? Let alone that it's on fire. He has no clue. And that, when you're there, like, oh, that world, that Twitter world, it's a small world of irrelevant. It's not relevant to real life, right, to me. And boom, just like that, within 30 seconds, it's all gone. It's deflated, right? It's drained out. And you realize the actual physical humans that I deal with, they don't even know. They don't even care, right? So balance is so important. Having a physical masjid to go to. But mujahada should be, so when I go to these masajid, people tell me all the time, you, with the students of knowledge and all that stuff, you're around good people all the time. At least people who know stuff. But I'm telling you, in the back of the masjid, I know a guy who doesn't pray properly. He doesn't make wudu properly. He just committed zina last week. So bring it down a little bit. Go back to the basics a little bit, because a lot of people are at that level. And of course, all of us at some point were at that level. So we shouldn't even be so shocked. Like, why are you so shocked? Everyone was at that level, right? It's just, it's out of your memory now. You just don't remember it. Literally, a guy said to me one Jum'ah, he said, you gave like this khutbah about some topic, can you remember? And he said, I'm telling you, the guy next to me, can you give a khutbah on the prohibition of zina? Zina. Right? The guy next to him says, yes, he does commit zina, but he treats her well. In his mind, he put together his own structure of right and wrong, not knowing, you can't do that in Islam. He said, yeah, but I treat her well. It's having a girlfriend's haram because you treat her badly, but I take care of her, right? And what's the big difference? What is the difference whether I do that or I come to the masjid first and say, qabiltu ajibtu, whatever, right? Zawajtuki qabiltu. Okay, maybe someday I'll do that. Get some good deeds. That's what he thinks. Somehow, that's what he thinks. Remember we were talking about your friend the other day, your old friends? when they watch anime and music and the stuff they say, they have no clue that the words you utter matter, right? And people sitting there like, well, what if God was this? And what if God is that? And if I died and I'm going to talk to God. But he has no clue that these things matter. And that's why we cannot be so highfalutin and not even realize that this is happening. Then we can address it and talk to it properly. Your comments on that?
No, I was just going to say the people become lost in the fact that they get maybe caught up in the outward action being the same, but forgetting about the inward, that there's something intangible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts between two people.
And that thing that's going to happen between two people is going to come when there's a good intention. When
and it's gotten lost in society, right? This whole concept of something that, is hidden, that is intangible, that subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal, just like what you said about the first one who's seeking knowledge. That if he takes care of himself in the beginning and he strives in what he knows, Allah will open up something for him.
100%.
There's something intangible that's in the striving and something that you know of very little, but doing it the right way and striving it and doing the very best that you can do and having ikhlas and having adab with what you understand.
No, that's that.
With the little, Allah's going to give to you more.
That's a summary. Act upon what little you know, Allah gives you more knowledge. And on top of that, not just more knowledge of things to do, but a knowledge that could not be attained in books. Wisdom and knowledge that cannot be attained in books. They asked Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jailani, they said one of the examples of even wisdom in problem solving. The scholars of Baghdad received a question that they couldn't answer, so they sent to Abdul Qadir al-Jailani. They said, a man has done a very weird oath. He said, Wallahi, if I do not do an act of worship that only me in this ummah is doing, then I divorce my wife. What a weird oath is that? Okay. So he said, they said, we couldn't think of what is such a deed. Abdul Qadir Jilani said immediately, go down to Mecca, take my letter, have the governor of Mecca clear the haram. After the dhuhr, no one makes tawaf after the dhuhr. It's too hot anyway, right? So that is the time where you will disrupt the people the least. Keep in mind, the haram back in those days was not like today. Surround 100,000 people 24 hours a day. It's not like that. My mother herself worked in Mecca as a pediatrician, and she said that there would be a time, the whole Safa and Marwa, 3-4 people. And the tawaf around the Kaaba, 2, 3, 4, every single time you go and you kiss a black stone. Every single time. There's no such thing as jamming for the black stone on a regular month outside the Hajj months and outside of Ramadan, right? Especially in the summer months, no one would go to make tawaf in the middle of the day. So they said, clear it out and let this man make tawaf. Therefore, he's the only worshipper. He's the only Muslim doing that deed at that time. He did that and his oath was lifted. It's forbidden to make stupid oaths like that, by the way. Okay, so he says here, قال الأستاذ الإمام رحمة الله عليه واعلم أن من لم يكن في بدايته صاحب مجاهدة لم يجد من هذه الطريقة شمة. If you don't start with strong efforts in the beginning, you will not sniff success in the end. You won't even smell success in the end. Okay. سمعت الشيخ أبا عبد الرحمن السلمي يقول سمعت أبا عثمان المغربي يقول من ظن أنه يفتح عليه شيء من هذه الطريقة أو يكشف له عن شيء منها إلا بلزوم المجاهدة فهو في غلط. If you think that you're going to get any unveilings or any openings in this spiritual path without strong effort, you're in a severe mistake. So if you notice, what is strong effort? I don't believe that what they mean here is that you take on so much. You're lifting 600 pounds. What they mean here is you take on something small, you act upon it, but you don't leave it off even when you're tired. That's where the mujahada comes in. Even when you're extremely exhausted, you still do it. You never leave it off. When you are bored of it, you still do it. Here's where boredom is the biggest problem. Sometimes people feel that, subhanAllah,
Being comfortable.
yeah, they feel that I always want to be entertained. And now I got to do something that has no kickback. I'm not feeling any spiritual feeling anymore when I do this prayer or this dhikr or something or whatever. Sometimes that happens to test you. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the sake of Allah, or are you doing it for the sake of feeling good? Feeling good is a great sign. There's no doubt about that, and we should love that and want it, etc. There's no problem with that. However, it's not the foundation of our actions. It's not the foundation. The foundation is taqwa. The foundation is we worship Allah because He deserves to be worshipped. There's an amazing story that was once told about a man who worshipped Allah perfectly his whole life. The angel said, "Oh Allah, may we look at what his reward is like on the Day of Judgment." He said yes. So they opened the book of destiny to see his heaven, or what does it look like? What level of heaven? What does his heaven look like? They found he's destined to the fire. He said they're completely confused. Completely confused. How is he destined to the fire if he literally has done everything possible that Allah loves, and we receive his worship all the time in the heavens? We know him. They said, "Oh Allah, permit us at least to tell him in his last few weeks of life that not to bother anymore, to tell him his fate." They went and they told him his fate. At that point, like, don't bother, khalas. At least enjoy what there's left to enjoy before you go to hell. So they went and they informed him. And they looked at him, and he didn't flinch. And he kept worshiping Allah normally. Nothing changed at all. So they went to him again. I said, don't you know, this is a story. This is not like something we know 100% it happened. Like one of those legends, right? So they went to him again, and they said, don't you want to enjoy the last few days? At least sleep. At least enjoy sleep. Enjoy eat. Of course, malaika are not going to tell you to do haram. At least rest. There's no point. He said, the information about me is irrelevant. I may go to heaven, I may go to hell. But the knowledge of Allah is fixed, and he's worthy of worship regardless of where I go. As for me going to hell, he has the right to put me in hell, right? And if he gives me in paradise, it's a gift from him. But as for him, he retains the right to be worshipped. So they went up again and saw that his destiny of hellfire was a test, and that the next page has on it that he's in heaven. But it was to prove to the malaika, to show, because malaika in Surah Al-Baqarah, what do they say? They say, "Oh Allah, will you place on the earth a representative that will kill and spill blood?" They didn't say, "Why are you doing it?" They say, "Will you do it?" Nobody can ask God, "Why are you doing it?" Do you think that there's a moral scale outside of God's will? Of course not. So they didn't say, "Why are you doing it?" They said, "Will you do it?" Meaning isti'jab. He said, "I know what you don't know." Means I know the nature of these people, and I know that there will be prophets and there will be righteous people amongst them. They will overcome their nafs. And this man overcame, and this is why knowledge is so important. If you're spiritual, you need to know epistemology. When an angel tells you a piece of information, that book may change. The angel is only accessing a book that may change. So therefore, if it can change, then what is it? Dhanni. It's speculative. But the existence of Allah and his worthy of worship, being worthy of worship, is absolute. It's not speculative. As you know, the book of destiny, speculative. It's not speculative, it's subjected to change, So if it's subjected to change, يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. Allah says in the Quran, he erases what he wishes and he keeps what he wishes. Means maybe there's a bala written for you, but you did such a good deed, the bala is wiped away. or the bala is blocked. You don't even feel it. Came down, you didn't feel it. Supposed to take off your whole roof and make you bankrupt, you get a drop of rain. Literally a drop of water. He wiped away 99% of the tribulation. Why? Because of some good deed that you did, maybe. He erases what he wishes and he keeps. That's the book of destiny that the angels have access to. So he must be a great man of knowledge to know that what the angels tell me, right? What the angels tell me, that's good, subjected to change, right? Subjected to change. So we have to have epistemology. If a wali was to come to you, and he's a wali min awliya Allah, and he says, I saw a vision of XYZ is going to happen to you, I can believe him if I want to, right? But I also must believe that the level of knowledge of that vision is not absolute like it's Quran. It could change. And it could be he's telling me to warn me, to change it, to change my deeds before this happens. So all this on the subject of Mujahada has part of it. There's a boring part of the spiritual path.
And there's a tiring part of the spiritual path.
And a tiring part of the spiritual
You can't
path.
get away from the tiredness.
You can sometimes you just can't get away from the amount of work that puts on. Jamie Adams is asking, what is bala? Bala is tribulation. But it also has the meaning of blessing. Because if you handle the tribulation properly, it becomes a blessing. Okay? So there's boredom. There's exhaustion. There's adversary. The spiritual path, remember, is not just ibadah. Firstly, you will find adversaries in your worship. You will find number one adversary of your worship is yourself. Your nafs. It's worse than 70 devils. Next adversary, if you defeat your nafs, is going to be shaitan. He will inflame your desires. Inflames your desires. Shaitan inflames your desires by saying, whispering stuff to you. Download this app. Open this app. Scroll through this. And you know all of it's nothing but dancing women. Explain to me, what is TikTok aside from dancing women? It's like 85% of every scroll is dancing women, right? So you want he wants to inflame your desires or chip away at your good deeds. Chips away. So you're scrolling. You're scrolling. On my feed is, I've made it all halal stuff, right? It's all halal stuff. Okay, but yeah, well, 1 out of like 10. 1 out of 15 is still going to show up something that's unlawful, that's racy or unlawful or scantily clad or whatever. So are you going to get sins for that? You get sins if you sit looking on purpose. But if you just scroll through, okay, inshallah, you won't get sins from that. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the first look, you don't get sins. That's the look of discovery. That's the look of discovery, not the look of
But that
desire.
doesn't mean that also that your desire hasn't been inflamed.
That's it. You're still inflamed.
Yeah.
That first look
the effect
inflames
of it has
you.
already been taken place, whether you've
Exactly. The effect is taken
digested it or
place.
not.
And you cannot corrupt something clean 100%. You get 1% at a time. So we'll put one little black dot on his heart.
Seed it.
He won't even feel it. Huh?
Seed it.
Yeah. He won't even feel it. This little seed that's put in there, then another one. If he's not careful, if he's not cautious, give it 2 months, that thing is messed up now. That thing is dirty. He's going to have to do a tawbah. He's going to have to delete this app. Right? He's going to, by the way, any app that you feel like yourself, I'm looking too much of it, delete it right away. It doesn't mean you're deleting it permanently. Right? Most people, they act as if the app, if I delete it, it's never going to come back. No, I can download it again later on. But if I'm actually addicted to looking at, let's say, Twitter, and I'm looking at it all day, let's delete it. You'll download it later on. But this idea that you can turn it off is so important, right? We're not going to be what do they call those? Luddites, anti-tech people, anti-technology people. Yeah. Luddite is just like against all technology. You're not going to be like what? But we're for controlling technology. You got to be in control.
Yeah, and I think the proof
Yeah.
They can turn it off.
You have to be able to turn it off on a regular basis. Every time you find yourself going to an excess, shut the whole thing off. If I find myself on my phone too much, all Saturday, okay? All Saturday, that thing is going to be put in the trunk of the car. I don't want to look at the thing all Saturday long. And you get a purification from that. Your mind actually rewires back to its normal. All of this, our mujahada, subhanAllah, is just not to do so many sins. That's our mujahada these days. Back in those days, the mujahada was how many khitams a week? Khitam of the whole Quran, a week, how many?
And trying to fill your life with something good.
Doing so much dhikr, doing so much deeds that we can't even today even imagine. Yeah. Today, our mujahada is not doing so many sins. Yeah. That's literally our mujahada.
And trying to replace it with something good.
Yeah. And today, the best thing we should do is don't try to do good by yourself. Join a group. Doesn't mean you're joining a cult. I need a group to do it with. I need a mentor to do it with. All right, let's take a look at a couple more things, and then we can go into a broad Q&A, because we have Q&A for a while. He says here, Abu Ali Daqqaq, من لم تكن له في بدايته قومة لم تكن في نهايته جلسة. It's the same idea. If you don't have if you don't rock it off really well, you're not going to have an ending that's worth anything. وسمعته يقول الحركة بركة حركات الظواهر توجب بركات السرائر. Oh, that's amazing. Do deeds, do more deeds, do more deeds, do more deeds. I'll give an example. There was a photography professor who wanted to test whether or not what was better, theory of photography or practice of photography. So he split his class in two. And he told one class, I want you to study the top theory of photography. All the theories of photography. And you get one shot. Give me one picture. Okay? One picture. And then he said to another group, I want you to study, or he said to him for the term, one a week. You need to give me one picture a week. But studied and tell me why. Why did you take this angle? Why? Give me the logic. I guess they have their own logic behind it. Okay. So they did that, and the other half of the group, their job was just to take as many pictures as you want, but hand in one. Take as many as you want. You don't have to study. Take as many, just hand in one. This was a side project along with the class. So he found the people who took far more pictures, right, were always superior than the one who studied to take that one perfect picture. And that ends up being basically that the more arrows you shoot at something, the more likelihood that you're going to get something, as opposed to just being a very good shot. I remember reading that, the NFL draft, so many players, and sports drafting is always really, it's total hit and miss. Like scouts, when they go and say, oh, that's a great player, you got to get him. If you line up the top draft choices with Hall of Famers, there is no correlation at all. There's no correlation that the earlier you are in the draft, the more likely you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no...
Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. Randoms, right? Complete randos. So Bill Belichick hacked that system, and he said, I don't care about high picks anymore. I don't care about... He was famous for trading high picks for 2 or 3 low picks. It's this amount having a lot of picks. And then from that large group, hopefully someone... How many of his top players were weak picks? Brady was all the way at the bottom. Edelman, all the way at the bottom. I don't know where Gronkowski was. Probably at the back. Andrews, the center, was at the bottom, right? Middle of the pack. A whole bunch of middle of the pack guys. Amendola is the middle of the pack guy from Monmouth College in New Jersey, right? Total middle of the pack guy. So many middle of the pack guys, right? Go look at the last top draft picks in the QB position. None of them are like really making waves. None of them are really like, oh my gosh, this is top player. So what he's saying here, Harakah Barakah, more certain things, you want more of it. If a person does a lot of something, eventually you're going to get good at it. Rather than trying to, what we call, set the table. All right, when are you going to do hifz? All right, I'm going to do hifz. You know what I need? Firstly, I need a block of 35 minutes. No, nothing there. I need to be in a great state. I need to be well rested. You're never going to succeed like this.
You need a great teacher.
Yeah, you're never going to. I need to have a great teacher. I need to be finished with my job.
I need to leave the country.
Yeah. And then it's going to keep going. I need to go abroad.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. You know Sheikh Abdul Rahman? Oh, excuse me. Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Saqaf. Abdul Rahman ibn Muhammad al-Saqaf of Jeddah. He told us about one student who Shaitan tricked him with this stuff. And he said that he would attend the circles, but he wouldn't do Mujahada outside the circle. And he would just say, when I travel, when I travel, when I go abroad, when I go abroad, when I study. I'm going to go study. But he would do nothing, right? He wasn't putting effort in where he was. Well, finally, this man got the ability to go study, and he went to a very special place, we're not going to say what it is, where he should have truly advanced. When he got there, guess what he ended up doing? All he would do is skip out on class and go hang out in the internet cafes, drink coffee, right? And just sit in the internet cafes on the internet. He didn't benefit at all. Your motor has to work. You got to move your motor. The best people in selling just sell a lot. I don't care about business schools, all that stuff. I mean, maybe they benefit people, but sell stuff, run businesses, run taxes, fail at that, fail at admin, fail at HR, fail a lot, sell and fail. Eventually you realize from experience like what works and what's important, as opposed to somebody studying the whole theory and not selling and not running a business and not advertising and not tweaking a product and not competing against other businesses. That guy's going to fail. That guy's not even going to hit the ground running. All right, let's stop here on Mujahada. Sheikh Asad, what do you have to add for us today? It doesn't have to be related to Mujahada.
No, I just was thinking of the book. It said, "Lam yuwassil ila nihaya illa an yasahad bidaya."
Sahib bidaya.
And that you can't get to the end unless you've made the beginning correctly.
Yep.
And I think about, if you're trying to build a wall, right? If you're just, one hair off in the beginning.
Yep.
By the time you get to the end of the wall, you're going to be a few feet off.
You'll be way off.
And that's the whole thing, is that you'll never be able to build a house that way. And so beginning, everything has to be plumb and square when it comes to building.
100. That's where the beginnings are more important.
That's it.
Right? Omar, what is this? What is all this?
Talking about Mujahada, right?
Oh, Mujahada and opening gifts?
So we got a package.
What Mujahada is this? What is this? The taboot?
We're gonna have you unbox.
Dude, this is a taboot.
This is the unboxing.
This is the Ark of the Covenant over here. What is this? This is the tabernacle?
This is some Raiders of the Lost Ark right here.
This is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a tabernacle. Let me show everybody. Am I supposed to do weightlifting or something here?
Pretty heavy.
Show it here. What is this?
You guys see this thing?
See, we got a hole for a lock or
A
something.
lock? What
Yeah.
is in here? A sword or something? Oh my goodness. What is it? A sword.
Mujahada.
Wow.
A sword. Look at this, people. Whoa. Look at this sword. And there's more stuff in there. Hold on. But let's take a look at this.
There's some context to it.
Oh my gosh. This is a real sword.
So this is a direct replica of the sword from Topkapi. I think it's
Of Omar.
Sayyidina Umar's sword, yes.
A direct replica. And it says here, my name engraved on it next to the name of Umar ibn Khattab. What an association.
And so
Look at this sword. Oh, nice and straight.
it's
Look at
custom
you.
made, and the way they made it was every bang of steel there was salawat and dhikr performed.
Ajib. And it's sharp.
Every bang.
This, I mean, it's not as sharp as in war, of course, because that would be dangerous, but you can sharpen this. You know, some swords come with a hard ending to make sure it's safe. But this one actually, you could probably cut someone with this. So this is the exact.
We'll look at it from far away.
Huh?
I said we'll both look at it from far away.
This is the exact. Now I could fulfill the the deed of not pointing a sword at a Muslim brother. You know, that's haram to do that.
Yeah.
All right, look at this. All right, here's a sword. The handle. This is a handle. Yeah, you put this on one side, put this on the other side, put the sword across. Oh, that sword's going back here. There's no doubt about that. You see this? You put this on here.
Is that a key? What is that? That's a key.
You put this like this.
Yeah, and it holds the sword. Yeah, that's the stand.
Yep. That's a stand, and it holds the sword. This is there a piece of paper on it?
There's a key right there.
With it?
Yeah.
Where's the key?
You see that key right there? Inside the, right here, inside the.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, there's a key.
Now you're gonna have to tell the police if they pull you over that you have a sword in your trunk. You know.
Yeah, I wonder what the rule is. What is the law on this?
I have it locked.
So, this is an amazing box. Stick this on the box in there.
I think it's a key for the.
Yeah,
That's
the
what I said,
box.
there's a hole for a key.
And then you take this.
There was some thought that went into this, mashallah.
Oh, this is something else. This is a wonderful sword.
He doesn't want to put it back. He wants to hold
Here, watch it, Omar. I don't want to point the sword at you. See, this is how you need a thumb up. Look, that's how. Yeah, I'll hold it. Yeah. This is how you put the sword on the stand. See this? This is how you put the sword on the stand like this. See that? You put that there when you have a meeting, then you take it off. Talk. Yeah.
Give us your plea.
What? How do you plea? How do you plea? Guilty or not guilty? And then the sword has a sheath. Has a sheath. I love this sword. You know, because I like straight swords. Although Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Ali, he had a curved sword with a two, but the straight sword and a little bit shorter, it's really practical, right? It's really, the Romans used to use that. So this is a replica of Sayyidina Umar's sword. You want to pose? Here. How do you want it? Like this. Cut that neck. There. It's no, you can, but you can maybe possibly get hurt.
It's a liquor sword.
Man, when the Masjid, whenever they conquered an area, they used to give the khutbah that week. They would give the khutbah with a sword, not a staff, because the Prophet always gave the khutbah with a staff. But when they conquered a new city, they would give it with a sword, not a staff. That's why when they went to Hagia Sophia, when they returned the Hagia Sophia as to be a masjid, which it was lawfully a masjid before that, they made it into a museum, and then they returned it to a masjid. He gave the khutbah with a sword. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. May Allah bless him. And this is the sheath, the beautiful black sheath. And it has on it, no, just a black sheath. And you could have like your ropes. You put a rope here and you carry it on your shoulder, right? Or you carry it around like this.
Or on your hip.
Yeah, or on your hip. Yeah, or on your hip, right? You carry it how you want to carry it around. But that is a sort. That's going back here. Yeah. No doubt about that. You said your mom wasn't pleased with the backdrop. Now she should be pleased. We're going to have palm trees and swords. MashaAllah, what a great gift.
All right, so that was a comprehensive Mujahada stream. You got spiritual.
And physical Mujahada. And we got to be ready. You never know when you have to physically do something with your body, right? You never know. And you have to be with people who is not afraid of conflict. You can't be. And conflict, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Your intestines will be upset. Your nerves will not accept it. But just like anything else, when you do a lot of it, your nerves just like sort of become dead to it. Everyone else is freaking out around you, but your nerves are just.
You remain calm.
Yeah, nerves are just dead. I mean, what are you going to do, man? Talk trash and that's it. That's the world today. just people talking trash. Shadee. Okay. Is qaza a sin? Qaza haircut is makruh. Qaza haircut is makruh. Opinion on shaving or trimming the beard. We talked a lot about this. Shafi'iyya hold the beard to be a sunnah in the first place. Correct? Yep. Malikiyya hold it to be a fard, and it is whatever the people of that society, the Muslims, would call a beard.
And I think that's
right.
That's a beautiful definition.
Yeah.
Explanation.
Yep. And that what is the qabda is the maximum. Should not go more than that, because that's almost a type of religious showing off. So the qabda is the max. And whatever people call a beard is the minimum. Sports fantasy games. If you were doing it, I think fantasy games that are, of course, when they have money, they're forbidden. Of course, it's gambling. When no money is involved, can't say it's haram. Maybe some have said games of chance. All of them are haram or makruh. But for sure, we can say that when there's money involved, it's forbidden. Okay. Honestly, I love Law and Order. Why? Spirituality can't grow in chaos. Creativity cannot grow in chaos. Like the best things in life can't grow in a state of chaos. There needs to be law and order at all times. So Law and Order, you think, it's rough. Well, it's not rough. It's what I'm telling you is that you cannot have all the great things in life, all the things that require creativity, spirituality, that the bedrock of that is peace, that you live in peace, that you wake up in the morning, you don't worry about anything except like whatever your interests are. Law and order provides that in a society. That's why I
Again, going back to the intrinsic qualities that are hidden from the command of Allah.
If you look at all of spirituality begins with Sharia, because if you don't follow Sharia, you end up in debts. You can end up in severe interest debt. You can end up in very terrible situations between men and women, right? Where am I sort of married? Am I not married? Am I, I have involved with different women in a way that's not going to give you peace, right? And for women, the same thing, right? You're not in a state of peace. Intoxication. You can't achieve anything if you're always getting your brains messed up, right? Always knocking your intellect off. So when we look at the Sharia, that discipline and those laws are what create a foundation for peace of mind. Hey, Omar, stop right there real quick. Yeah. Look at how your picture goes over. No, do it again. Put it back. See how it's over one and under the other? Yeah. That is really cool. Okay, do that. Something like that. So all of spirituality grows out of Sharia. Without law, without fiqh, without following the law, you're going to be in a state of turmoil, right? You'll be in a turmoil. And you can't, at that point, you won't be able to advance spiritually.
You could say also all knowledge stems from that.
100% too.
What separates us from being just a normal animal?
Yeah.
The fact that we're hayawan natiq.
Hayawan natiq. Yep.
We're the animal that has the ability of communication and speech.
100%. 100%.
Which is built on knowledge.
Yep. Knowledge too should not precede spirituality. Must precede spirituality. Spirituality should not precede knowledge. Without knowledge, a person can go far, far astray.
You have to filter it.
It has to filter it. Yeah. And they used to say that you have it buffered. Yeah. They used to say you need a sheikh in the spiritual path. Many people think you can't arrive without him. There was a period of time, what they meant by that is you can't control all the spirituality that you enter into needs to be controlled. So all of our homes, you got electricity, you got fire, you got gas that provides the fire, you got water, you got these 4 things in your house: water, electricity, gas, and fire. Without your house, without these things in the house, without one of these things, you can't stay in the house, right? If the power's out, you got to leave, especially in the winter, right? If the gas is out, then you have no heat. You got to leave. If the water's out, you got to leave. However, look at how they are in the house. They're strictly and severely controlled in pipes. If one of those pipes has a little hole in it, you have chaos in the house.
And they're usually in different areas as well.
They can never mix, too. That's a great point. You never put these things next to each other. So the gas has to be, like, I remember one time there was a problem in gas, and I didn't know any better. I thought, I'll fix it. So I go to the Home Depot, and I show him a picture, and I said, this, they told me I got to change this in the house. And he's like, this is gas related. I said, yeah. And he's like, do you even know what that is? That is? Do you experience with this? I said, no, it's my first time. He's like, hey, I'm not going to tell you what. If I tell you and you buy it and then you blow up your house, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to be responsible. So I'm not even give you the information, right? So here you have the idea of withholding information because you're going to screw everything up. So here we go, the idea that gas has to really strictly be controlled. If you have one little mistake in the gas and that thing is leaking out and you fall asleep, you wake up dead.
Or it connects to the fire.
You wake up in the afterlife. You like that? You wake up dead, right? You're going to wake up and you're like, why am I dead? Yeah, because the gas was on. Oh, forget that. If there's a single flame, someone goes to make some tea or something, game over. They make gas smell bad for that reason. Or not smell bad, but they give gas an odor. Natural gas doesn't have an odor. Yeah. They give it that odor. So the idea of spirituality, it needs to be tightly controlled. And when theologians make a big deal about a subject, they know that subject matter right there, it's just like a little tiny hole in your gas, right? And it becomes too late if you don't know about it. So you need it most. Yep.
If you don't need it and you have one, then
yeah,
you're covered.
You're covered. So either way, you're covered.
Yeah.
Yep. Somehow, though. A lot of good questions here. Let's get to the Q&A. And, of course, Sheikh Asadullah, pitch in whenever you like. During COVID, there was a hadith going around about black seed cures all illnesses. Yes, can't tell you off the top of my head what the hadith is about the black seed. Why don't you look it up for us? Hadith about the black seed. And yes, black seed is a shifa, but you have to take it in a certain dosage. If you can overdose on it, because the Prophet ﷺ said it's a shifa. We know that it's a shifa. How do we take it? No, that's up for the hakims and the doctors to tell us how to take it.
And I think something, just to go on the same point of that, is that something that's important is that I think that when we're pertaining here to knowledge, is that the ashab, right, the medicines that we have that are similar to the black seed, there is knowledge in Islam that is preventative, right, versus the modern medicine where you take the medicine after you've gotten sick.
SubhanAllah,
those basic knowledges, they should become like awrad.
Yep.
For a community.
Here's the thing: the Eastern people have lived far longer than they've had civilization far longer than the European people, and much more than the American people. It's not, we don't sit there saying, oh, Eastern people are so much greater than Western people. They lived longer. They have civilization far longer. So they have experienced all the good and bad things that happen. And that's why you find in Eastern diets, they throw in a whole bunch of seeds and spices.
Yeah.
It's because at some point in their history, they realized that people are getting sick.
There was probably a COVID of their time.
There was a COVID, many COVIDs 10 times worse than their time.
Or plague.
Yeah, plagues. They had all these things.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is that at some point they realized this food or this spice is good for you.
Yeah.
It'll cure this sickness. All right, well, what happens if we all eat that a little bit every day, right? Then you won't have the sickness at all. I'm pretty sure that that's basically how the Eastern world.
They have a different approach to it. The way they look at
Yeah.
things is they don't see it as a plug and play formula.
Yeah.
See, there has to be an underlying cause
Mhm.
for everything that's happening. So if you're having a headache, it's not because there's something wrong with your head.
Yeah.
Something else happening somewhere else in the body that's causing it.
And it could have been something that amassed over the last month. For example, it could simply be as simple as dehydration over a week. Like every day this week you drank less and less and less and less until finally like you have a headache.
Or you sleep wrong.
Or you sleep wrong, right? You get a headache. Or multiple nights in a row something is waking you up, right? And so you're not sleeping. So you end up sick somehow. These people in the East, they've lived so long that they've amassed such an amount of knowledge. They probably don't even know what they know, right? Here's one. إن في الحبة السوداء شفاء من كل داء إلا السام. The black seed is a remedy for every disease except that. Let's actually look at what it actually says. It says within the black seed. Doesn't mean every single part of the black seed. That means a certain disease may have a cure through one chemical that's in the black seed that doesn't cure another disease. So therefore, the study of the black, can you go look at the chemical compounds of the black seed? What's in there? Whoever recites Surah Al-Kahf on the night of Jum'ah will have a light that will stretch with him in the ancient house. Darimi Sahih. Yes, no problem with that. Don't recite the Quran by juz and recite surah by surah. There's nothing clear cut about that. You can recite the Quran by juz on the ishara of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said, "Cannot one of you recite the Quran in a month?" The Sahaba therefore divided or maybe it was a tabi'in, I don't know who, but they divided the Quran into the 30th juz based on that hadith. Therefore, to recite the Quran by juz as opposed to by surah is completely permissible. There's no... you talk about surahs of the Quran, you want to talk about Suratay al-Duha wa Sharh. Surah, from the short surahs, Surah al-Duha and Surah al-Sharh are amazing chapters that will uplift you when you're down. And the best quality that a person can have is the ability to handle bad things. I remember reading commentary from a sheikh. He was a Turkish sheikh, and he was very wise, old man. And somebody said, "I heard that you have the secret to success." And he said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "What is the secret to success?" He says, "The ability to handle bad things." The words here are so simple. The idea is so simple, right? The ability to handle bad things. What he means by that is that usually when do people collapse? When a bad thing happens, right? Adversity, they break under adversity. So when a surprise occurs, they don't know how to handle it. They break under those bad things happening. And the ability to handle bad things happening and not to just want to cower back into peace and to be able to handle that. And in fact, to realize that a lot of good can come out of this, that's the secret to success. In every field, that has to be the secret to success. When you see someone broken and you realize, why is this person just like broken and just want to live in a little corner and go home at night, right? And be safe, be on the safe side. That's good with Allah, right? I want to be safe with Allah. I don't want to mess around. Yeah, that's in taqwa, in deen. But out in the world, if you have that approach, you'll just be a nothing. You'll be a zero. And the reason for that is the simple reason of you don't want any form of hardship. You cannot handle bad things happening. And those are the types of people who are mice. They're just like the mice of life. The chemical makeup of black seed, also known as Nigella sativa, primarily consists of a high concentration of fatty acids, with the most notable active compound being thymoquinone, which is considered the main contributor to its potential health benefits. Other components include proteins, alkaloids, saponins, and variety of volatile oils, like P-cymene, saravacrol, and A-pinene. Okay, so did you understand anything? Because I didn't. Bunch of technical terms. But it's 20% protein, 40% fat, 5% moisture, 4% ash, whatever that is, 8% fiber, and 30% carbohydrates. I have a feeling I don't know why I think we passed 100, but maybe that's 100%. Okay. That's basically what the black seed is. All right, what can it cure you of? Cancer. It's an anti-cancer. But how? I don't know. Brain cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, prostate. And the active ingredient for that is thymoquinone. It helps rid the body, the oil element of it, helps rid the body of harmful particles called free radicals. A lot of useful information here. But it can cause allergic reactions if you take too much. It can also cause upset stomach, vomiting, constipation. How much per day? 1 to 2 grams a day. What does 1 to 2 grams look like? I don't even know.
I would think that would be a lot.
3 teaspoons a day? That's a lot. 3 teaspoons a day. Shit, ajib. Due to limited research, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, avoid black seed oil, except for small amounts. Hey, Omar, I have an idea. Put that whole picture to the left, and then the sword can go into the text on the right. Yeah, dimensions are weird. All right, thank you very much for that. Great research there, mashallah. Surah Al-Insan is another amazing surah of Quran because it gets us pondering upon the time when humans didn't exist. Has it not come upon the human being a time when he wasn't even a thing to be mentioned? So that's deep to think about that. It was a time where humans didn't even exist on the earth, but jinns existed. And it's amazing to think of the angels who lived a long life before humans got here. And we're sitting here thinking like our origin is Adam alayhi salam. But Adam came late in the existence of some other beings like the angels. Adam, Iblis. How old is Iblis? It must be more than 10,000 years old. Way more than 10,000 years. Maybe it's 30,000 years old. So if you're 30,000 years old, you're going to be the most knowledgeable person on the earth, even if you're low IQ. Right? If you are low IQ, you'll be the most knowledgeable.
Slow to learn, but
yeah,
you have enough time.
But you got plenty enough time.
Yeah.
That's why imagine a guy who from age 20 to 40, all he does is chess full time. Right? And he's got a very high IQ. But imagine another guy, he's got a very low IQ, but he has 500 years to live. And he only plays chess part-time, but for 500 years. Right? Who's going to be better? When they play each other, who's going to play? He's gonna the older guy's gonna be better. He's seen all the moves.
Yeah.
Right. Can I ask someone else to pray istikhara for me? Yes, istikhara is nothing but a dua, but you must pray it yourself first. Like you must do it yourself. Someone is asking about different jobs. Basically, the job that if the industry is halal, then working there is halal. But if they ask you to do something unlawful, that's what you can't do. Just that. So you're a nurse, all right, help out with a sex change operation. No, that I can't do. Nursing is halal. But this specific thing I can't do. You're working in ShopRite, halal. Fruit, bread, cheese, all that's halal. Olives, snacks, drinks. But then, all right, go to the alcohol aisle and work there, that I can't do. So, but now let's take a liquor store, or in the financial business, like, what do they call that? Cash advance, which is basically riba. So in a liquor store, the whole thing is haram. It's haram to be a cleaning service that cleans a liquor store. They hire you to come in the morning or in the night to clean, haram. Yeah, anything, change a light bulb there, haram. Be an electrician, set up the IT, kullu haram. Right. Same thing with the current state of most militaries, or a lot of militaries, I should say, that are involved in unlawful wars. If the war is unlawful, whole thing's unlawful. Now, being in the military in general, when they're not fighting an unlawful war, is lawful. So, for example, the military of Brazil right now, at this moment in time, what are they doing? They're not fighting wars. Most militaries are not fighting wars. I don't even know what the point of these militaries are. I had an idea, by the way. I mean, like in Sharia, they always say essentially the military is meant to protect the borders of the nation, and then the police is meant to protect the inside of the nation, right? So when the politicians are talking, when we're talking about the border, why don't we use the military for that? If it's actually people are coming into this is a border issue. Why is border patrol a separate thing, right? Do you know how many military men we have? The biggest military in the world, all that stuff. We fly halfway across the world to kill people who didn't do anything wrong. But now when there's an actual legal issue, and we talked about this yesterday, we said diversity, it's a wonderful thing, but there's got to be order to how it's done. Okay? And also not only diversity, there's some mercy needs to be. You know how bad America has been towards Central America and South America to keep them down? Like, we're one of the worst nations in the world. At least repent from that by letting some of them in, right? But you have to have law and order how they come in. There has to be law and order on how they come in. So why don't you just put your military down there? Station them all across. Firstly, the U.S. border, there's swaths of it where there's nothing except water, so you don't need a lot. Then there's swaths of it where it's like no one can travel there. So you're not even talking about a totally huge border, right? And now the hilarious thing is nations from Africa and stuff have hacked the system. They come in to like Nicaragua or Panama, then they take buses and trains all the way up to America. So from the Mexican border are coming Africans now, right? Listen, I'll be the first person to tell you the U.S. history is really bad towards Central America and South America, right? It's not like this is a country that needs sympathy. But just on the issue of like what would our position be? There's got to be, every nation has to have a border, right? Every nation has to have a border. So, doesn't that make sense? You got a huge military. They're just sitting around doing nothing. Send them to the border, right? Don't cross. That's it. That's your job. Make sure no one crosses. And then, why would you sit at the border? Isn't there a buffer between each nation? Like a mile, 2 miles, right? So we know this from 40 Nawawi hadith. Around the king has a castle, right? And he has this area where only his animals graze. You don't go right up to the edge of that. Then on accident, one of your animals is going to graze in the king's grazing grounds. Then you're in trouble. You go further out, like way off. So what's common sense? You're such a powerful nation like the United States. Your border patrol should go out like 3 miles out, right? 3-4 miles into Mexico. And that should be an area that is secured. Jamie Adams says that wouldn't make any money. Providing the actual solution never makes money. Yep.
That's probably why the poorest countries do that.
Do what?
Have a border.
Yeah.
I mean, a space between the two of them, like a buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have a
Because
buffer.
they don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
But then he's saying, you know.
He's saying he's not going to make money.
Yeah.
Does benefit of salah and salam on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have a benefit for a non-Muslim, like to remove their depression? I have to tell you this. It's not reward. However, everything that Allah reveals, it benefits. Let's just forget salah and salam. Sharia itself. If a non-Muslim was to be forced to live on certain basic Sharia principles, which means no drinking, no fornication, no drugs, no interest, his life would be better, right?
Absolutely.
And if he's not a Muslim, yet he's just listening to Quran and dhikrullah, he's not getting rewarded with Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah, but he will benefit from that. He will calm down. He will be more relaxed. He will be happy. There was a non-Muslim, and I have the living proof. We all know this story because a bunch of us, we were out in New Brunswick late at night one night giving out food. Before the soup kitchen came, that's how we used to do things. And a guy recited Quran to us like Abdul Basit.
MashaAllah.
We said, MashaAllah, brother, we have a masjid here. Why don't we never see you at the masjid? He said, because I'm not Muslim. Like, how does he recite the Quran like Abdul Basit? He ends up telling us that he had a roommate, a cellmate, and that cellmate had been given permission to have a cassette tape. And he used to play the same cassette tape every night to fall asleep. The guy said, I memorized the cassette tape because it's like 365 nights a year.
Yeah. For how many years?
For how many years? And in jail, they have strict routines.
Yeah.
It's not like the routine is going to be broken because I visited my grandma in Florida or something like that. No. He is same routine. So he was like, I memorized it. And then one night, for some reason, he didn't put it on. Prisoners from down the hall were yelling, put it on, I need to sleep. Everyone would sleep to it. So Sakina comes down, and they could benefit from that Sakina, but we say they won't have the reward. You must believe in Allah first to have reward, but you will have benefit, yes, 100%.
I wonder if on that night when it didn't work, I wonder if he recited it.
Hajib, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Just to keep the other guys at bay.
Yeah. But let's take the natural way of living. If you were to live the way that Allah Ta'ala wants us to live, which is to wake up at dawn, to wake up at Fajr.
In fact, I would say the tradition of most Americans was that way.
Yeah.
Because most of them were farmers.
We're farmers, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way Allah wants us to work. You would be mentally far more healthy. You take an average person who doesn't believe in Allah. No drinking, no drugs, no interest debts. Women, you're going to pick one woman. You're going to pick one woman for marriage. You're not going to go sleep around. Wake up at night. You're going to sleep when it gets dark at night, and you're going to wake up at dawn. Even if you sleep later as a nap, no problem. But you're going to, every dawn, every Fajr, you're going to wake up. All right? We should call it, not dawn is not the right timing. It's, what is it? Pre-dawn.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's why we have the saying, the early bird gets the worm.
Early bird gets the worm. Before,
and you go anybody in business and they're going to tell you, if you want to be successful, you have to get up early.
Got to get up early. You cannot sleep in.
So those are intrinsic qualities of the fitrah,
subhanallah,
that are, that humanity has understood outside of
Sharia. What did Sayyid al-Kawnayn say? Sayyid al-Kawnayn alayhi salatu wassalam said, the Prophet, Sayyid al-Kawnayn means the chief of this life and the next, or the chief of humans and jinn. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the rizq is distributed in the morning.
Subhanallah.
Rizq is distributed in the morning. And that's before Benjamin Franklin ever said that. Early bird gets the worm, that's Benjamin Franklin. And when I talk to business people, they really do have this theme of get up before everyone else. Maximum 6 a.m. That's the max. Your day starts at 6 a.m. By 9 a.m., you've done 2 hours of work before all the employees get in, right? The employee gets up at 7:30, out of the house at 8:30, or 7 out of the house at 8. And he shows up to his cubicle at 9, grumbling with his coffee in his bag, right?
Yeah.
By that time, the CEO's already been at work for 2-3 hours, right? That's why he's a CEO versus an employee. Yeah.
I remember before I became Muslim, I remember that I would show up right when the church would open. And go and I would spend my time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ended up happening was that some days I would show up late.
Yep.
So what my teachers, they gave to me, they said, we're going to give you a key so you can get up even earlier so you're not late for school.
SubhanAllah.
And so I think there's even that element, within other traditions.
In all things.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a natural thing.
Yep. Rizq.
Yeah.
I remember one time seeing a little thing on Kobe Bryant. And he said, Kobe Bryant said, one of the things that he had a habit of in the off season is everyone would do 2 workouts a day. They'd do the morning workout, they'd rest, they'd do an afternoon workout. And that's what good players did. So he said, how am I going to be better than them? So he said, I do a pre-morning workout. So I do a 2-hour workout from 5 to 7. Then come home again, sleep, eat something, sleep again, then get up for the morning workout. Now, of course, this morning workout would be slightly later, but he's already done 2 hours. So maybe they start at 9, so he'll start at 10. Do 10 to 1 workout. Then he does the afternoon workout from 4 to 6. So he does 3 workouts a day. So he said, now if I do that for one full off season, that's 2 months, 3 months. And then the next off season, the next off season, the next off season. Like no one's catching up to me. Because that's 7-8 months. That's so much more workouts than everybody else. Anubek says the Euphrates River is set to dry up between 2030 and 2060. Should we expect the Mahdi to come in in our lifetime or at least soon? We should always expect Imam Mahdi to come. We should always expect him. But let me just tell you something about Al-Imam al-Mahdi. Omar, decrease the shine a little bit on the picture there. Adjusts. Yeah, that brighten. Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you something about the Imam al-Mahdi. It's slightly different than prophethood. This is Sheikh al-Maghini taught us this last year. Imam al-Mahdi, why is it the Prophet says there's athar? I'm just going to say there's athar because I haven't seen the exact analysis of the hadith. That whoever does not follow him is a hypocrite. It's an obligation to follow him. Now, it's an obligation to follow him because of what he does, not because of the person.
Who he is.
That's the difference between Nubuwah and Imam al-Mahdi. Imam al-Nabi must tell you, I am Nabi, you must follow me. Okay? But Imam Mahdi, it's not like that. You see what he does, and when he acts on the Sharia and lives upon Islam, then it becomes an obligation to support him. Unlike Nubuwah, when if a prophet was to come, and let's say there was another prophet, and the older prophet says, yes, this is a prophet. Now, just by virtue of him being that prophet, I have to follow him. Just on that. He doesn't have to prove anything to me. I already have proof that he's a prophet. But Imam Mahdi is not like that. Imam Mahdi is a human being, and the reason that is obligatory to follow him is what he does. So that's the subtle difference. That's why we shouldn't look around and say, okay, is that Imam Mahdi? Why do I have to worry? Let's see what he does. If he's truly the Mahdi, his actions will make it binding for me to follow him.
The proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding for Imam al-Mahdi. Whereas the proof is the proof for prophets. Just his personality is enough. Or his person is enough. Can I learn Ja'fari fiqh? No, they don't have a sanad. That's we're not allowed to follow those furu'a because we don't have certainty that that's what he said. Yes, if Al-Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq had a chain that was alive today, mutawatir, no doubt what he said, would there be anybody greater than him? He's Ahlul Bayt. He's the teacher of Imam Malik. It's said that his father was a teacher to Imam Abu Hanifa. Who can be better than him, right?
MashaAllah.
But it's only the fact, it's nothing to do with Sayyidina Ja'far as-Sadiq. He's a teacher of Imam Malik. And if you look at it, it seems to be his sheikh in tasliq, his sheikh of suluk. That's what it looked like. But what's needed for a madhab to remain a madhab is the transmission. Mutawatir transmission from the first generation all the way to us, so that we're sure that this is what the Imam said. And the Imam is establishing methodologies. He's not going to answer every question. Obviously, the 4 Imams, are they answer about Bitcoin? Of course not, right? They don't answer these questions, but they give the methodology. And from that methodology, if we use that, then we can derive the right answers. Bismillah. Okay, what else do we have here? Will people of Jannah have children? Yes, I heard there's an athar that people in Jannah can have children and that the child stops at a certain age growing. Do you ever have a 1 or 2 year old? You have kids, right?
Yeah.
You have kids? When you have there's an age where you wish the kid stopped growing, right? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, so many questions to answer here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notifications bell, because our stream every week, alhamdulillah, every week, our stream is getting better. It's getting more viewers and more, and that's all I care about. Are you getting a little bit better than yesterday? I'm not competing against anybody. I always compete in these things against myself, right? Is it getting better than the month before? Is this year better than last year? Right? I'm not competing with anybody else. Ultimately, we're here. It's an honor that Allah gave an opportunity to read some books of deen, talk to wonderful people and have guests, be able to bring some fawaid and maybe answer some people's questions. That's it. That's what gives me happiness. But you gotta always improve, right? So I'm not competing against anybody except competing against myself to try to be a little bit better every year and every week and every month. So Anubex, I answered that super chat question of yours. Is prophetic medicine divine? Anything that comes from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is wahi. What the Prophet speaks to us is wahi. And when we say it's wahi, what we mean by that is that it's directly from Allah. It is from Allah, except we don't recite it in salah. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. So the middle feature of hawa, whim, is not there for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is, when I said directly from Allah, but I mean, of course, through the Prophet, peace be upon him. But there is nothing to corrupt it. Not like us, our thoughts are from ourselves and could be right, could be wrong. Not for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Istighfar for rizq, does it work if you have a normal job with weekly paycheck? Inshallah, it could work, because rizq is not just from money that you earn. Rizq can be gifts. Rizq can be inheritance. Is rizq. Rizq is that your kids are good to you, your wife is nice to you. That's all rizq. Rizq is that you're not depressed. Rizq is that your boss is nice to you. Your industry's stable, right? There's a lot more to rizq than simply the dollar amount that comes in your paycheck. All right, we have 2 promos to do. Omar, what do we have? What do you have for us here?
So this is a conference, inshallah, that will be happening on tomorrow, actually, with Sheikh Asadullah.
MashaAllah.
Sharing the poster, inshallah.
Read me those names, please, because I can't see from here.
So you have Qari Zahid, our very own, our man, our Qadi. And then we have Imam Bilal Khan, Sheikh Asadullah, who's our guest today. You guys probably hear him in the background. Okay. Unfortunately, we couldn't have him on camera because we don't have a setup for it. But
who's that person next to Sheikh Asadullah in the middle there?
Qari Ahsanullah Hay.
Okay.
And then brother Jamal Ahmed and brother Ahmed Khan. So this is the
Who's Ahmed Khan?
I'm not sure.
MashaAllah. St. Demetrius Banquet Center on Friday, November the 15th, which is this Friday, right?
Yep.
Inshallah. At 7 p.m. Okay. Location?
The location.
It says Demetrius, but where? Demetrius.
Carteret, New Jersey.
Demetrius Banquet Hall in Carteret, New Jersey.
Dinner will be served 7 p.m.
Good. Very good. You could screenshot that and you can attend if you're in New Jersey. Very good. Starboard is having its first matrimonial event, believe it or not, operated by Mawadda. So we're more in the mentorship side of things, but we are using Mawadda to do matrimonial events. So our very first matrimonial event is happening at MCGP on Sunday, December the 15th in Princeton. MCGP is the Masajid in Princeton.
Brother Ahmed and Jamal are munshids.
Munshids?
Yes.
MashaAllah, wonderful. All right, we have to do a quick little plug for Darus Salam. All right, in the third week of Friday, I believe it's the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. There's a Darus Salam winter intensive that I recommend everyone pay attention to it. They're going to be talking about the family life, married life, role of a husband, how to be a good husband, how to be a good wife. It seems like it's in the air, this subject, because you're just noticing that extinction culture has spread far and wide. I call it now extinction culture. It's basically, I'm 30 and I live in the city and I just worry about myself and I just do whatever I want to do and I don't care at all about having a family or having kids. So that is extinct. That's the culture of what extinction looks like, because you're going to basically, I heard a statistic that 50% of youth between 20 and 40 will die alone, not having produced an heir. That's a disaster, right? I mean, it's a disaster if you're good people. If you're not good people, then maybe your extinction is better, right? And maybe there's a reason you're being extinct. You're so off, right? You're so off in your beliefs. It's led you to extinction, right? So I call that extinction culture. We're not going to go extinct. The Muslim will not. The Ummah of Islam is constantly increasing. Yes, maybe our local community will go extinct. That's possible. The Ummah of Islam is in a constant increase. And alhamdulillah, bi'idhnillah, but we have to be part of that increase, right? And so we have to, at least, I mean, just basic math, you need to produce 3+ children. Everyone's got to produce 3+ children. That's just a fact. Otherwise, you stabilize. But if you stabilize, now you're at risk. If you have 2 kids and one of them dies, or one of them doesn't marry, or one of them doesn't have kids, or one of them's impotent, or one of them's whatever, boom, you're down to 1. So you need insurance. You need to be a hub 3, and then you need the empty net goal 4. The 4th kid, I call him the empty net goal, right? You know what this analogy means, the empty net goal? All right, the empty net goal is this. Basically, in hockey, if you have a 1-goal lead, in the last minute or 2 of play, the other team pulls the goalie so they can add an extra forward. So they could be now 6, they have an advantage on ice to score the tying goal. So what usually happens is, now obviously the risk of that is that your goal's open, right? So now you get that empty net goal, the whole stadium relaxes and the party starts, right? Because now you got the empty net goal. So when a man and a woman have 4 kids, they got the empty net goal. They can relax now.
It's basically the nail in the coffin for the other team.
Exactly. That's the nail in the coffin for the other team. We talked a lot, subhanAllah. I had beautiful guests. Sheikh Asadullah was here, and he'll be here tomorrow, bi'idhnillah. So thank you for coming. Again, everyone on the stream, I forgot to mention that we are sponsored by GRT, Global Relief Trust. They are a sponsor. And by the way, we are actually in the market for sponsors to make our stream better. We're in the market. If you want to sponsor, you go to info@safinasada.org. I highly recommend it to be something in line with what we believe in and something of an online operation, because there's no point to be a restaurant in New Jersey and be a sponsor on a stream. Restaurant in New Jersey, you should be on, I don't know, the radio or something where it's local. So it should be something online.
And like you said, it's an opportunity. You said if you can't be the one who's doing Dawah, then
Exactly.
support somebody who's doing Dawah. And this is a huge opportunity for doing Dawah.
It's a huge opportunity to support this kind of Dawah, and it's hopefully something that's going to be in your scale of good deeds and help your business at the same time, or your charity operation, whatever it is, whether it's a charity or a business. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة
Kalbe şifa